All right. Hey, everybody. Thanks for joining us again for one of these rewinds. We've got a great time for you tonight. We just recently digitized the 1988 live Beyond Vaudeville show with Adam Batman West, Sammy Petrillo, and other stars too numerous to mention just yet. But we are going to mention them. We're going to talk about them. We're going to take your comments. Feel free to put them in chat if you have questions. I see Amusement Films is already there saying yay back to you, Amusement Films. And we have a very special guest tonight to join us to talk about this. This is someone who was in the audience as a younger person back in 1988 and has since gone on to a very successful career as an artist. You've seen his collages in every major magazine and newspaper. His work has been exhibited at a one-person show at MoMA, which not everyone gets to do. In fact, he was the first to do that, and maybe still the only. I'm not sure. He's also in the permanent collection of MoMA. He's in the National Portrait Gallery. I mean, come on. He's done 3 children's books. He's been an author illustrator of 3 children's books. He's made animation for Nickelodeon, Chris Rock, and the Whitney Museum. Wow, just amazing. And perhaps most importantly on his resume, he was in the audience for the 1988 live Beyond Vaudeville show. Please welcome our guest, Stephen Kroninger. Stephen, are you there?
I'm here.
Yeah. How are you, Stephen?
It's a pleasure and a great honor to be here.
Well, it's an honor to have you here, and amidst your amazing collection of books and memorabilia and
stuff my children are going to throw out after I'm dead.
Well, it's nice that they're at least waiting until you die before they do that.
They might throw me out first.
So you were at this show. And I guess I just have to ask you, what brought you there in the first place?
Well, my friend Mark Newgarden, the noted comics creator and educator, we decided to go to the one in '87, the one with Al Lewis. We had a great time. My most vivid memory from that was when Suzanne Muldowney came out as Princess Dracula. Mark sank in his chair and he went, "I'm in love."
And we're going to have more to say about that performance a little later. Yeah, but I'd like.
Then the next year, we both love Sammy Petrillo, and we saw, Adam West, because we're both, Batman fans, and Sammy Petrillo. How could you not go to that? So we did not go.
The bottom line was we were really making these shows just for the two of you, Stephen.
They were like just for the two of us, and the TV show too was like, don't miss TV.
Well, I'm going to bring up some pictures just to get us started here. And this first one actually has nothing to do with our 1988 show. This is an example of your work, which we put on here because Tiny was a frequent guest on our shows. And what did you do this illustration for?
This was for WFMU.
Okay.
I think they had asked a group of people to do Tiny Tims. And you know what? That poster you have in the background, I had that when I was in 5th grade.
Yes.
I was in 5th grade, and there was a lifeguard girl. I think she was in high school, and we used to talk all the time. And one day she goes, "Hey, I have this poster of Tiny Tim. Do you want it?" I said, "Sure." And then, of course, eventually my mother threw it out. But I love seeing it again.
Well,
maybe that's the one my mother threw out. Who knows?
But I'm guessing you didn't have an Izzy poster, the other one there.
No, I didn't. No. No, I don't have a poster.
Well, let's get into this show. So, so this was the poster that we did, and it was interesting. We started putting these up all around New York City, and they were large size posters, and we were doing it through NYU, and all of a sudden NYU got calls from Warner Communications that they were threatening that you can't put these posters up around town. And we didn't know what, and I had to call Warner and have this conversation with them. And what we found out is they were preparing to do the Batman movies.
Yeah.
and they definitely didn't want this image of Adam West and the old school campy Batman, and
I remember this poster though.
Yeah, so we did get them around town. We'd be taping them up all over on streets and whatever, and they eventually gave us this long legal explanation that they wanted us to handwrite on every poster, which, needless to say, we didn't do that.
Right, what?
It was like a long disclaimer that they wanted. It was something when they realized that we were doing this as a benefit for the Coalition for the Homeless.
Right.
They felt about 2 inches tall, and they didn't know how they could really fight us.
Good.
So they wanted some disclaimer saying this is only being allowed because it is a benefit and blah blah blah. But Adam West was our host. We flew him out from Los Angeles, and here he was at the show. And what were your impressions of Adam that night?
Well, I don't think he was as into it as Al Lewis was. Al Lewis was really into it. And I remember at the end of it, all these people come up to sort of greet Adam West, and he kind of bolted out of there. He wanted no part of us.
Wow. And you actually have a poster there that you tried to.
I wanted him to sign this poster because so this is the poster that I have that was around the time of the Tim Burton movie, the first film. Bring back Adam West as Batman, which I still think they should bring him back. I don't care that he's not with us anymore. I want to see more Adam West Batmans.
Well, he was a very nice guy. He was very cooperative with us. But I will say one thing, and this is consistent with the stream we did last night on the Roy Radin vaudeville shows. Like a lot of those old performers that did those shows, Adam was drinking a lot this night.
Oh wow, I didn't know that.
Yeah, no. He every time he would go backstage, he'd take another little nip. Yeah. And we had quite a lineup. I could barely get all these people onto one
slide. Is quite a lineup. I know all of them.
So a lot of them we ended up, having on our TV shows, Beyond Vaudeville TV shows. I don't know, anyone you want to pick out of here that stood out to you?
Thule I actually knew a little bit from the Village Voice. Mm-hmm. One time, this is a Thule story, but one time I was with Thule, we were having dinner with Thule and his wife, and I just kept asking him about the Fugs, and his wife just kept shooting me shut up looks, but I didn't stop. And he's telling me these great stories. But we're not here for Thule, but yeah, I mean, I remember all these acts.
Thule, we didn't. I'm going to be showing some clips from the show that night.
Okay,
there isn't anything from Thule. Thule was.
Did he read poetry that night?
Yeah, and it just, this wasn't really the best setting for reading poetry.
Well, Thule was like, took himself, I think, more seriously than I think maybe. I mean, everybody took themselves seriously, but he thought of himself as on another level, I think.
Yeah, well, I guess, it to some extent he was, right? The Fugs did have some, considerable success.
He was a big downtown, fixture.
Right.
Then at that point. I used to buy comics from him. He would self-publish his comics and sell them by the Cube at Astor Place.
Uh-huh. Yep.
In there and talk, and I would buy his. I still have them.
Now, and now Sammy Petrillo is on here, and we're going to talk quite a bit about Sammy in a little bit.
Talented Sammy Petrillo.
Was this the first time you met Sammy Petrillo?
Yeah. So Mark and I decided to go to. Well, yeah, we were standing in line to pay our admission, and I said, like in a big voice, I said, "I'm here for Sammy Petrillo," and I didn't know he was standing there. Because he didn't look like that, Bela Lugosi's Brooklyn Gorilla Sammy. And he turned around and he went, "I'm here." and I said, "Oh, it's really a great pleasure to meet you, Mr. Petrillo." And I had the album because Mark had given me for Christmas a copy of My Son, the Phone Caller. And he said, "Oh, you want me to," this is my Sammy impression, "you want me to autograph your record?" And I was like, "Yeah, that'd be great." He said, "Well, let me do it after my performance, but I will do it." So, so that's how I met Sammy Petrillo in the line at Beyond Vaudeville.
Wow. I hope we weren't charging Sammy admission to get into the show that night.
I think he was just hanging out in the front. But so what was funny was that we Mark and I sat in the back. In '87, we sat in the front row, and maybe that's why we were sitting in the back this time. I don't know, but so Sammy does his performance, and the next person comes on, and the backstage door opens, and it's Sammy, and he's kind of in a crouch, and he's looking up all the aisles, and Newgarden goes, "He's looking for you," and I'm like, "Yeah, right." But he was looking for me to sign my album, so he finds me and he takes me backstage. He has the album up against the wall, and he's signing it. And Coco of Coco and Penny fame, she looks over and she goes, "Oh, it's his fan." that's my meeting of Sammy and Coco.
Well, I guess that was one fan more than Coco had back there. That
backstage, yeah.
Yeah.
But I'm sure we had many fans, Coco and Penny.
By the time they hit
were
the
great
stage.
acts. I mean, I remember in '87, they bowled me over.
Mother-daughter comedy team. Yeah.
Yeah. They were a surprise.
Now, we also have the artist there on the lower left, Konstantin Bokov, who does his street art. He's been doing it for decades. He's still out there around. And
I don't remember him from that show, though.
Well, we're going to see some footage of him. He was drawing using his foot.
Yeah, that's great.
Yeah, and I don't
remember that.
Now, Stephen, did you go? Did you actually train at an art school or?
I enrolled, but I didn't attend.
Okay. Oh.
And I dropped out of art school. But it's from a time where a friend of mine said everybody in like the late '70s dropped out of art school. Nobody graduated. Yeah.
I was just wondering if anywhere along the line in the training of an art student, do they teach you to draw with your foot?
Feet? No, that's just something it's just something you have to work on. 10,000 hours. That you have to put in your 10,000 hours of drawing with your feet, and then you're a master.
So you either have that gift or you don't, or you think it is a learned skill.
Well, I mean, you're born with it, but you have to develop it.
Got it. How about Gretchen Wiener? We have her up on the top in that risque outfit.
Yeah, no, she's great.
Yeah,
I mean, that's all I have to say about her. I mean, she's amazing, as you know. She had that great voice.
Yeah,
really high-pitched voice. And then she would do wouldn't she do scenes from Streetcar Named Desire or things like that were really flowery?
She would weave lines in that are sort of in the zeitgeist. Yeah, that was part of her routine. And of course, Suzanne Muldowney was there doing her first ever performance as Supergirl. Any memories of that?
No, I mean, yeah, she was great. I mean, we loved her back when she did the Princess Dracula, and we loved her when she was doing Supergirl. And this is years before anybody, she was doing Howard Stern and all that stuff. This was she was everybody on this show to us was a revelation.
Well, how about we run the clips and we'll watch and if there are any thoughts afterward, we'll add those in. And meanwhile, everyone who's who's writing in. Tristan Jan says, "Hi, Stephen. Looking forward to some Sammy Petrillo stories." Great. And Pennsylvania Pinchington says, also a Sammy Petrillo fan. David would have made a great Brooklyn Gorilla. And Amusement Film says, who must have been there, I remember the Clock King's henchman Bass was there, and he spoke to Adam West. Yeah, that was an awkward moment. I think Adam West had asked if anyone in the audience had questions, and this guy got up. I don't know if you remember this, but he got up saying that he was one of the henchmen, who didn't have any lines in Batman, playing Bass. I guess it was a musical villain. I don't remember which one.
Either. Was he really one of the villains?
He really was. And but of course, Adam West, he was being nice, but he just tried to sort of politely dismiss it. And then the guy got up onto the stage, and so
I don't remember this at all.
Yeah,
backstage getting my album autographed.
And that might have been it. You might have missed a key moment in the show. Exactly. No, it was just I mean, there were a number of uncomfortable moments, but that was one of the most uncomfortable because Adam West was trying to be nice, and this guy was like, he was a character actor who, was just not getting off the stage. It's pointed out the villain was the minstrel, and there were two henchmen, treble and bass, and he was bass.
That was Art Carney, right?
No, I think it was Van Johnson, maybe. Oh, you might be. I wonder if that's one of those characters.
My Batman friends are going to disown me.
Yeah, no, you might be right. Van Johnson. I don't know. Someone's going to know that in chat. You don't have to worry about that.
I know they always do.
Oh no, yes, it was Van Johnson.
Oh,
yeah.
Well, I'll leave now.
Wow, Rich 1, Stephen 0 right now.
Thanks.
All right, let's take a look at some video.
And now, please help us get a big welcome to the big star tonight, Adam Batman.
Do you really recognize me? This month, right? I'll just stand here for a few moments to let you admire my incredible crime-fighting physique. Smile, please. I'll plump up and we'll put on the oil and everything will be fine. Have you seen any unusual-looking people around here tonight? Oh, but you will. Well, I'm just delighted to be here. As part of this venerable, great show business tradition, which has gone on for some, 7 or 8 years now, Beyond Vaudeville. This is beyond anything I've ever I've been a bat for about 20 years. Fighting crime wherever I find it. I see there's a lot of crime here tonight, so look out. But none of these villains is quite as terrifying as what you're about to see. Girls, seriously, girls, hold on to your boyfriends. Boyfriends, what?
You had seen this the previous year, right, Stephen?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
Well, okay. But this character.
Yeah.
The sick humor of Sammy Petrillo.
I like to smoke a few of these pints, and I'd like to do something right now that no other comic would attempt to do at this particular point. I'm going to continue. So you're going to get a big truck and get the hell out of here. Look at this, poor piano player turned gray already. How are you? Got another booking in June. Anyhow, ladies and gentlemen, I am a little big. I've always had a little. No, I want you to know I have played the best nightclubs and theaters around the world before working my way up to this place tonight. And I want to say, Batman, you're really great.
I looked through your leotards. Oh my God. You look so beautiful with the cape on, honey.
Hey, I just want to tell you, how about you fellas? Get out here, drunk. Go put your hands together and start a rock garden. Anyhow, how are you feeling? You're going to get small religious metal like everybody else is going to get a rope to toe their finger. Ladies and gentlemen, yes. Hey, Yogi, how are you? Blessed is this crowd here tonight. A few people who remember my movie, man. Thank you very much. That's a pretty good picture. They just, okay, anyhow. Why don't you leave your mouth open? We need air conditioning. Ladies and gentlemen, how you guys doing? Do your instruments interfere with your work, or do you get paid by the pound? What is it? I want to just, sure. Ladies and gentlemen, I just want to tell you that I have crime photographer. Okay. I'm going to do some very, very quick impressions as I may, okay? Ask the audience if you can guess who they are. Oh, all right. Terry Lewis, the reason the man said that was because I was being sued by him for $1 million, as you can tell he won. Looked like a one-man slump. Don't blow your nose, sir. Shake your head, it'll fall out. Okay. Terry Lewis. Leave a little Terry Lewis music, please. Cut. Thank you, Terry Lewis. Thank you.
It's
Okay.
hard to catch some of his lines, you know.
Wait, what?
It's hard to catch some of his lines because of the audio, you know. And from there, he just went on to like serious talk about the Coalition for the Homeless, and
That was funny because he was doing his impressions and people started shouting. You don't really hear them in the tape, but they're shouting, "Do Jerry Lewis, do Jerry Lewis." So he does that bit with the hair and the light. But then he really did Jerry Lewis when he started going, "This is for a very serious cause. It's for the Coalition for the Homeless, and I want you to dig deep into your pockets." And Mark and I both like, now he's really doing Jerry Lewis. And the tote.
Seductive magic of Karima.
don't know if you heard that one point when she was bringing the veil up and someone yelled out, "Higher."
Oh, if Sammy had come out like that, he might have gotten a bigger reception. Adam is getting yeah.
What's that?
I said Adam is getting progressively more.
Oh, yeah.
Oh.
Our next guest art color has graced many a West Village eatery. His own photograph was recently showcased at the Village Voice. This man of singular vision, one eye. This man of singular vision threw off the yoke of Soviet oppressors and now enjoys the fruits of freedom. Russia's loss is our gain. The unclassifiable Konstantin Volkov.
You wrote this.
What's that?
You wrote the introductions?
Those were written by Steve Korn, who was our director on all the shows for years, and Doug Broad, who went on to, well, he would do puppets with us, but he also was an editor at Entertainment Weekly, and you guys have probably crossed paths without even realizing it.
I am a great artist, and I come here to prove my greatness. But in front of this great audience, I am very excited, you see. And many times I have proved my artistic ability. This is one of my paintings, especially I done it for this evening. You see, this is real Coleman's man is sitting there. But today I like to show different things to make little entertainment for you. I like to show you my drawing with my food. With my food, with my gun, every time. Thank you very much. This is great audience. I love you.
Now, as an artist, Stephen, I guess you're probably more forgiving of art if it's done with a foot. Yeah.
I don't know. I could admire his technique with his hands, his feet, his tongue. Did he say? He draws with his tongue. I mishear that.
I'm not sure about that, but you might be right. Yes. Comments coming in. Let's see. It seems that Sammy almost had an anxiety of influence in his very brief Jerry Lewis impression, probably tired of it at that time. And Jerry, I'm sorry?
He didn't want to do Jerry Lewis. People were shouting, "Do Jerry Lewis," and they kind of backed him into doing Jerry Lewis.
Yeah, interesting. Okay. Sean Lane asking, does MTV own the whole Beyond Vaudeville library? No, absolutely not. That was Oddville stuff. Jay Blotcher is saying Adam was 59 or 60 here, born in 1928. Wow. I was thinking of him as being much older than that at the time.
I thought he was younger.
Wow. Yeah.
What's the difference? He was 60.
All right, here we go.
Oh, here we go. I wish you avoided controversy, but not have.
What's that, Stephen?
I said, I noticed you avoided controversy by not having Book and Martino back.
Coincidence, purely coincidence.
Probably one of the most awesome, spectacular blendings of classical dance and pop culture I've ever witnessed. I'm proud to be in the Justice League.
Proud to be in the Justice League. That, just watching that really was a really one of her more extraordinary performances. Having,
as I recall, they're not just random movements. She's telling a story, right? There's a whole, it's all building up to like Supergirl flying, and then there's this big ending, like I guess the villain has been vanquished. I mean, it's a whole story. She's not just being random as one might think.
Absolutely. And, and she really did not have like a lot of formal training. This was really a lot of, her doing this spinning and all this. Some of the comments, Mark is saying absolutely magnificent. Someone else is saying the crowd seems very receptive of Suzanne, a true artist, master of her craft. What an amazing talent. I think the audience was pretty receptive to everyone. I think the only time people would get into trouble is if they got up and just sang a couple of songs from the 1940s or something. That was kind of.
And here we have Stryker.
And here is Stryker. So this is Stryker. We would always end the show with the happy line. He would sing his original song, "The Time to Be Happy Is Now," and we'd have all the performers come out and do a final dance.
Show.
This is the finale. Yeah, we don't have clips of everybody in here.
I understand.
I'm so busy, happy is now. Come on, and we start this song. Start to live, give a smile and live positive. And if you know that you break up, give it a hurry, a turn, break up. The time to be happy is now. The time to make movies is now. Everybody, be happy now, be happy now. And if you love and you break on, come and get a hurry, I'm trying to break on. The time to be happy is now, be happy now. And if you love and you break on, come on and get a hurry, and break on. The time to be happy is now.
Hey, what'd you think of the show?
Every single one a national treasure.
Well, thank you. The exit's this way. Excuse us. Almost as good as last year. Excuse me, any reaction to tonight's show?
Especially Steve, Irene, and her husband. They were all.
Hi, who are some of your favorites tonight?
It was the greatest show on earth, the greatest time I ever had in my whole life. And I had some wonderful times in my life. I've come from Morfield, Pennsylvania. It's a beautiful place. And I had a great time. It was wonderful. Really. Sammy Petrillo is the killer.
Hi, you have a minute? Looks like you asked me what you thought of the show.
Fantastic.
What were your favorite parts?
Besides the husband's jokes, they were great. And just the spirit of the audience, the spirit of
It came together.
everyone's having a good time.
Oh, is there anything we can improve?
With that, no, just forget it. Hey, you're doing a good job.
Oh, great, thanks a lot. Thanks again.
Hi there. What'd you think of tonight's show?
Is there anything we should do differently next year?
Yeah, what do you...
Maybe we should have some good acts next year.
You didn't like them?
I love them. What did you think, Lydia?
Oh, good evening, Batman. What'd you think of the show?
It's disgusting. The most disgusting piece of human trash I've ever seen. No wonder why these people are homeless.
How can we do it differently next year?
Well, first of all, you can make sure that while the audio is fine, take care of the audio, as you know.
Yes.
Possibly get one good act in. That might help.
Well, thank you. Okay, it's duly noted. Thanks for coming.
My pleasure.
We hope
my
to see you again
pleasure.
next year.
No, I will not be back.
We'll come and find you.
That was more fun.
That looked like it hurt.
Yeah.
Hi, thanks for coming. Exit's over here. What did you think of the show?
Wasn't bad.
You liked it?
Surprised.
What were your favorites?
Adam West.
Adam West, yeah. Any of the acts appeal to you?
Yeah, it was very good scope of vaudeville.
Oh, good. Wait a minute, I'm sorry, did you say spoof?
Yes.
What do you mean by that?
Well, the way the audience participated in.
Yeah, I can see that. Well, thanks very much.
You're welcome.
Is there anything we should do differently next year?
Not really.
No? You had no complaints? Well, great. Thanks for coming. Wonderful. Oh, great. Wow. Where's the job?
The toilet is through that door downstairs.
Distinguished now. Here comes portly and distinguished film historian Ed Hulse.
Mr. Hulse. Mr. Hulse.
I gotta tell you,
Mr. Hulse.
yes.
Your professional appraisal of the show.
I was just saying to my friend Mark Tronster, you know, I've seen a lot of shows, I've seen a lot of entertainment spectacles, and
Quite a few Broadway performances.
a lot of Broadway.
Me and
I've
my
been to
gal.
Vegas quite a bit.
You seen Pal Joey?
Oh yeah.
Me and
I've
my
met
gal.
several times. Me and my gal. I like that one too. But I don't think that I've ever, in my years, I've never seen anything that even remotely compares with the.
What particularly stands out in your mind?
It's really overwhelming.
Anything we should change? Should we change even a note of this?
No.
No? You're happy with it?
I would like more Irene.
More Irene.
More Irene.
I'd like more and her husband.
So there we have it. Yeah, Stephen, we do have clips of the other people too. We still have more tapes to get through, and but
I was thinking that it's funny that some people went to it because they saw the Adam West poster and they had no idea what they were in for. Other people are in on it, you know, were familiar with Beyond Vaudeville. But I love the people that are like, that's the worst thing I ever saw in my life. Like,
yeah, and people, there was one act, Bert Bedell, who was doing some of the older songs, and there's video of everyone just kind of a ton of people just streaming out of the space. Like we learned, you know, it's funny, the show evolved. Initially when we were doing these shows, we were originally thinking of calling it How Much Can You Stand? And we were giving everybody a half hour each, you know, to do their act. And it just would go on and on and on. Yeah. So we eventually got to a point where, you know, everyone would get 10 minutes, and then that was getting closer to 5 minutes. And it worked better. Yeah. Because there was something interesting about people leaving the show, but I don't know. That just seemed too easy.
it's just funny that they had no idea what it was. They saw the poster, Adam West. They decide, oh, Adam West, it's a night out in the town. And they go there, and it's a total shock. The guy with the Batman mask was particularly disappointed.
Yeah. He didn't seem like one of our typical audience.
He wasn't going to be back.
Somebody in chat is saying, I think I've heard that Suzanne did not like the Adam West Batman TV show as it was too non-serious. What was Suzanne's reaction to Adam, and was she enamored with any other Beyond Vaudeville guest? Actually, Suzanne, she got along okay with Adam because Adam was very polite to her. You could see him, taking the bow with her, and
looked like she was going to give him a kiss at that one point, didn't it?
Yeah, I think she told me that she whispered to him at that point, because you see her go over to him.
Yeah.
She whispered, Batman is meeting Supergirl.
Yeah.
So, okay. So Mark is asking, where's Joey the Monkey? Actually, Joey the Monkey was the guy asking the questions on those exit interviews there at the end. So now let's talk about after this show. So you ended up meeting Sammy Petrillo that night.
Right.
And he actually wrote his information on the program, which
Here's
is
what happened is, I don't know how this happened, but we walked him home. He was getting his bus was at 6th Avenue and Minetta Lane. And so we lived on 10th and Hudson. So we walked out with him. He came, so I guess I was his fan. And we walked out together. And I remember we crossed 6th Avenue, and Mark Newgarden looks back and goes, because Sammy was all alone at this bus station, dark, desolate. And Mark goes, looks like a Drew Friedman drawing, which it did.
Come to life.
I think it was raining, but I don't really think it was raining. But it just seems like it should have been raining. He was wearing that long trench coat, as I recall.
It was raining. Actually, some of those people,
okay.
Because the Batman guy that you saw coming down the stairs, he went on to say, and it's raining out. And then
Oh, okay. So it was raining. Yeah. So there he is all alone at the bus station and raining. And then he started to hang out with us. Like, what happened was he gave me his address, and I guess I gave him my number, and he was working on this tape at Manhattan Neighborhood Network. and this was going to be the big turning point in his career. He told me like, it's just around the corner. Like once he finishes this tape, and I don't know, his partner in comedy was Susie Petrovic, and but I think they had an off and on relationship because in the Eminem tape, it was all like the strippers were doing her parts, the strippers from Robin Bird, and they were wearing those skimpy little outfits. Because what happened was he didn't have a VCR, so he'd come by our apartment so he could look at his tape. And these are pictures from a Christmas party, and he brought the tape. It might have been this party, and we had it playing in our bedroom, and our guests could go in there and sit on the bed and watch Sammy's tape. I don't know what happened to the tape though.
No, it occurs to me if anyone is watching this and for some reason doesn't know who Sammy Petrillo was, I guess that's a possibility. But yeah, I mean, I would hope that everyone knows. But Sammy was in this legendary movie, Bela Lugosi Meets a Brooklyn Gorilla. It had different names and was known as someone who was aping Jerry Lewis, I guess is fair to say.
Yeah. Well, one time he came in with his brother to edit that tape. And afterward, Sammy had false teeth and he didn't like to wear them. I guess they were uncomfortable. And we went out afterwards to lunch after editing this tape. I don't know why they dragged me along with them, but I was with them. And we're sitting at the table, and it was this big cafeteria, and we were the only people there. His brother, Sammy, and me. And Sammy's eating a grilled cheese sandwich without his teeth in. And at one point he goes, "I never thought Jerry Lewis was funny." And I thought at the time, that's an odd thing to say considering. And then I realized, he might never have honestly thought Jerry Lewis was funny, that it was only because he was 17 years old and he looked like Jerry Lewis, and everybody told him he looked like Jerry Lewis, and that got this ball rolling that, now he's 54 years old and he's got this Jerry Lewis albatross,
Wow. That would be like Henny Youngman saying, I never really liked one-liners.
Right. It was just, but then again, maybe he never did think he was funny. Maybe he was like a big Jack Benny fan or something, or that's kind of what he liked.
Wow.
I never asked him who. I can't go back. I never asked him who did he admire in comedy. I never asked him that. I should have.
Now, Stephen, in the photo on the right, who were the four of you there?
Well, that's my friend John Mariano. That's me in the white shirt, Sammy, and then Sammy's protege, Raymond Book of Book and Martino fame.
And we'll talk about them in a moment. And now your friend Mariano, haven't I seen him online doing a Jerry Lewis impression?
I think he's done photos of himself as Jerry Lewis, but he doesn't do it like the way Sammy did it.
Or he
did it big.
I mean, if he's the right guy, but he was like doing the thing with Jerry, like sucking on a lozenge.
There, right? He's kind of doing it, in the picture.
Yeah. And then I think we have some more shots from the party. Yep, here we go.
Yeah, that's me clowning around with Sammy. There's Sammy doing. Yeah, I mean, Sammy was having a ball. I mean, he was in his 50s, and we were all in our 30s and 20s. He's, he just liked being around us. I could tell you. Okay.
Did it seem like he was surprised that you guys knew who he was and were so enamored of his work? And
well, he told me he was doing college campuses and stuff. So I guess he understood that he had this recognition for the film. I remember once when he came over, he would just come over and talk, or we'd come and watch stuff on TV. And once he came over and we watched, I had a tape. It was just me and my girlfriend, who is now my wife, Aviva, just the three of us on the couch. And we were watching a tape of Bela Lugosi Meets a Brooklyn Gorilla. And Sammy recited every line of the film a beat before the person on the screen, not just his lines, every single line. And to me, that's a golden memory. I loved it. I mean, yeah, he would just, and then the person on the screen would do their line. And he always would sit with his teeth in his hand like this while he was watching TV. It was like his arms like this.
That's a little disconcerting.
It was just Sammy. I remember we have a friend, Allison Mork, who played Cherry the Chair on Pee-wee's Playhouse. And she met Sammy at our place, and Sammy decided that he was in love. And she did decide that she wasn't in love. And he would, well, it just reminded me, because I remember once he was sitting with his teeth, and she called, and my wife answered the phone and go, "Oh, hi, Allison." And then Sammy, who never called her Allison, went like, "That's Cherry the Chair." And he puts his teeth back in and takes the phone. But yeah, another Cherry story. I don't know. Do you want me to go and tell another story? Cherry story?
Yeah, of course.
this is kind of a cherry story. So Sammy was like a really charming guy. He was a really sweet guy. And so we were at Puglia. Puglia, am I pronouncing it right? In Little Italy, with those long tables. It was an Italian restaurant.
Don't know that one. Okay.
So we were there, and I'm sitting across from Sammy. It was a long table, all our friends. And Sammy's sitting next to Allison, and he dips his hand into the cream cheese, and he puts it all over his face like shaving cream. And he picks up a knife, and he goes to Allison, "Shave me." And Allison is like, "No, I'm not going to shave you." And he's like, "Oh, come on, shave me." And she won't do it. So he gets up, and they had like a little 3-piece band there that played like Dean Martin and Frank Sinatra, Nina Rota music. And there's a woman like dancing, and he starts dancing with a young woman, a brunette, I might add. And he starts dancing with her, and she shaves him. And then we like go back to our meal, and he's like gone for a while, and he's dancing with this girl, and he comes back, and we go, "Hey, Sammy, how did it go?" And he pulls out a little piece of paper, and he goes, "Her number." And there was another time.
Wow.
We were at Tiffany's 2 at Christopher and West 3rd, and I was with 2 other people who were also friends that were on Sammy or Pee Wee's Playhouse, Wayne White and Rick Heitzman, and they wanted to meet Sammy. And we're in the back booth, and this again young girl walks by, a blonde this time, and Sammy must have said something like, "You're very pretty," and she started talking to him, and it's kind of this like subtle flirtation. And finally, she pulls up her finger and she goes, "My finger's bleeding. Will you kiss it for me?" And Sammy goes, "No, I'm not going to kiss your finger." And she goes into the ladies' room, and Sammy goes, "You know why I wouldn't kiss your finger? AIDS." So that was kind of, Sammy was a ladies.
It's remarkable that he would be in a restaurant, put smear cream cheese on his face, and still get the woman's phone number.
Yeah, it was amazing. But he was really disarming. He was like a sweet guy, you know. I mean, yeah, he was just a really nice guy. Alice, didn't fall for him, but there's my signed album. Yeah.
Yeah. So this was one of his albums, and you got him to sign it.
His friend, but he signed it, "Your friend, Sammy Petrillo," and we became friends.
And that was one of his. This was the other album. I think you mentioned this earlier.
Oh yeah. Well, yeah, but yeah, he's barely on this album. He's just mostly on the cover.
Yeah, but wow, what a contribution!
Petrillo. I'm sorry.
I mean, even if he's not on the album, what a contribution in that photo.
Oh, it's a brilliant photo. Did you have this hanging up in your home? Didn't you tell me that?
Yeah. Yes, of course. This one definitely deserves a place of honor.
I have a copy. Here we go.
And these are some pictures from over the years. So in the middle, those 2 shots, those are Susie, and she just passed away about a year or so ago.
Oh, she did. I didn't know.
Yeah.
Okay, I'm going to tell this story.
Yep.
Sammy used to call me, and it'd be marathon phone calls. He would talk like, say he called me at 8 o'clock. We'd be on the phone at 11. And it was just Sammy and me, like, okay, yep, sure. And Sammy was talking, and I would hear, it was when he was living with Susie again, and I could hear her in the background. I couldn't hear what she was saying. And after about a half an hour, Sammy goes, I hear Susie again, and Sammy goes, "If I want to get laid," Susie says, "if I want to get laid, I better get off the phone." And I'm like, "Okay, Sammy, I'll talk to you later." But just these long phone calls.
Wow. So they were definitely a couple, because they
were off and on.
Sammy was on Beyond Vaudeville on the TV show twice. He was on in 1988, the first time.
Without his teeth, by the way.
Yes, and in 1991 he came on that time without his teeth, but with Susie and
kids.
Yeah, and the kids, and he never off camera, like he wasn't presenting them as a couple. They were
a couple. Here's the thing: the last time I talked to him, he called me up. He was living with Susie, her husband, and these 2 kids. After I hadn't seen him for a while, because apparently he had moved in with his parents in Florida for a while, and then I hadn't seen him for a while. And then he called me up, because he goes, "Yeah, I was walking a kid." This is my Sammy impression. "I was walking a kid, and he ate some snow. Do you think he could die from that?" I'm like, "Sammy, he's fine. He's not going to die." "Yeah, but there's chemicals and things in the atmosphere. Are you sure he's not going to die?" I go, "Sammy, he's fine. He's, people eat snow. He's going to be fine." And then he'd talk about other things. And then later, Are you sure he's not going to die from he ate the snow? There's chemicals in the atmosphere. So, yeah.
By the way, Stephen, that impression is spot on. I got to say, it must have been all those hours of conversation you had.
Yeah, we spent a lot of time together. I'll tell you funny. You have the picture there from Keyholes Are for Peeping.
Yeah, the bottom left, he did these sexploitation movies for Doris Wishman, the director, and that was one of them there. Yep.
Well, he told me that when they did when Bela Lugosi Meets the Brooklyn Gorilla premiered on Broadway, he said he and Duke were mobbed in the men's room after the film played. And then he told me when Keyholes Are for Peeping played on Broadway, it was just himself, Doris Wishman, and the owner of the theater in the audience. Times have changed.
Now, are we to believe that they really were mobbed when they did Brooklyn Gorilla?
Well, years ago, I had to do a story in Florida with Weekly World News. And they told me, you never talk anybody out of a good story. If somebody tells you there's a bat boy in your garage, you say, how tall is it? I never it's like, I mean, he told me that Howard Hughes was a huge fan of Mitchell and Petrillo. And that one time he was up in the suite with himself, Howard Hughes' suite in Las Vegas, and Lenny Bruce was there. And he said Lenny went out on the terrace and they had these glass doors and he closed the doors and Lenny had torn up little bits of paper. I don't know if this is an interesting story or not.
Yeah, go for it.
But little pieces of paper, and he started beating on the door going, it's snowing, dropping the paper on his head. That's his Lenny Bruce story. He also had a Joey Ross story, which again, I didn't ask him, is that really true? But he said Joey Ross used to ride in a convertible with his prostitute girlfriend and with a handkerchief hanging out of his pocket, a huge handkerchief. And every time they saw him, he'd be with this girl and he'd have the handkerchief. One time he shows up in the convertible without the handkerchief. And they said, Joe, where's your handkerchief? And Joey Ross says, we broke up.
You're right. A good story, whether it's true or not.
Yeah. You want a Bela Lugosi story?
Please. Yeah.
All right. So Sammy told me, I guess I asked him about Bela Lugosi, and he said, "Oh, Bela Lugosi was like the sweetest man. I loved him. I loved being with him, but he was very ill. It was toward the end of his life, and he would go, Jerry Lewis, Jerry, don't you remember me, Jerry?" And he would go I'm sorry, Mr. Lugosi. I'm not Jerry Lewis. I'm Sammy Petrillo. So a little while later, I read an interview with Huntz Hall, who was friends with Bela Lugosi. And in the interview, he was asked about, what did he think of Mitchell and Petrillo? And Huntz Hall said he didn't like them at all. And he said, and Lugosi said to him, I used to torture one of them. I would go, Jerry Lewis, don't you remember me? Jerry.
Wow.
I never told Sammy that I read that interview with Huntz Hall.
Mark is saying these stories are gold. Absolutely, Mark. And if anyone has questions, for Stephen, because he did know Sammy pretty well from all these calls, put them in there. I'm just thinking about when you were talking about debuting on Broadway, and I went to the very first night of previews for Damn Yankees with Jerry Lewis, right?
Oh, yeah.
And he, for years, Jerry Lewis was telling these stories about, how I was at the top of my game in TV. I was at the top of my game in movies. And, his difficult, somewhat failed actor, comedian dad always said to him, yeah, but you haven't done Broadway. So,
right.
Well, it was like, this is going to be spectacular, right? Like Jerry is finally on Broadway. He's finally proving to his dad, wherever his dad was, up above or below. And, so you would think he would just be ecstatic. So after the show, it was freezing cold. It was in the winter, and a bunch of us stood outside the stage door waiting for Jerry to come out. And it just, we were waiting, almost to the point where it's like, should we just go? And the door opens and the limo is like on the curb. Jerry's wearing that plaid overcoat that he wore for decades.
Yeah.
And he just glowers at us. He looks at us and he just puts his hand like this to the crowd and he goes, move. And we all parted and he went into the limousine, slammed the door shut, and off he went.
You see, Sammy would have signed autographs.
That's right. That's
Love
the
meeting
difference.
this man.
And let's see. So here, yeah, this is when he did the.
Oh, there you go. You see, he has no teeth. I don't mean to point that out so much, but yeah, that's how he would be at our house.
Yeah, and there's Susie and the kids. These kids must be. I don't know. This was 1991. Like they're
all grown up.
Yeah. Yep. And
Sammy really liked coming to our place. I remember once he was at the door leaving, and he turned to Aviva and I, and he went, "I love you guys. You're like a sitcom couple." This is a high compliment.
This was a photo he signed to me again. My good friend. I guess that was his sign off on.
Wow, that's really nice.
And then he was on our autographed puppy here. That's his signature on the left with a little cartoon.
Unlike Jerry Lewis, he did his own caricature.
Yeah, look at that. Exactly.
I used to have a videotape of Brooklyn Gorilla that he signed like that, but I gave it to some friends.
That was a mistake, Stephen.
Oh, here we go.
So we mentioned Raymond T. Book II before, who was the protege of Sammy and was in that photo at the party. And this was from the previous year. The Batman show was 88, but the previous year in 87, this was, when we had Grandpa Al Lewis hosting.
This is the first show I went to.
Okay, yeah. So you were there, and Suzanne is in the bottom right. She's debuting her Vlad the Impaler dance.
Isn't it Princess Dracula? Wasn't that the name of it at that time?
Yes, she was calling it Princess Dracula. Yes, but based on the on Vlad Tepes. Yeah,
that's a great. If you haven't seen it, anybody who hasn't seen her Vlad the Impaler, there is a Beyond Vaudeville where she performs it. It's a must see.
Yes, we do have that clip on the site, so you can check that out.
Yeah, you got to see it.
And then Book and Martino, just coincidentally, were doing a Dracula act.
Right.
Now,
that was the act.
Which was based on their album, which this was their LP that they put out, Count Dracula and Other Skits.
Comes with a poster.
Yeah. Let me go bigger with this. Yeah. This is...
They got their faces on the label.
Yeah. That's some illustration there. And yes, and it had a poster, which is in here. What do you think, Stephen? You think I can retire on this? I have to make sure my daughter doesn't throw this out, right?
Absolutely. That's like, I wouldn't even do it through eBay. I would do it through Heritage. You finally auction it off.
Well, I'll count on you to provide the certificate of authenticity for this. Book of Martino.
That album, but I don't know what happened to it. I have like a whole box of comedy records, but it's not in there anymore. I'll find it. Well, my kids will find it after I'm gone.
Well, and I'm guessing you never had this. This is a, let's see, a 26-page script that Book and Martino had written.
Was this the tape they did for the cruise lines?
No, this was, I don't know if I think this was for a movie they wanted to do. And it's called The Eviction. It starts off with Ray saying, "What are we going to do? We have no money. The rent is due this week. The landlord is fed up." And Vito says, "Don't worry about it." Ray says, "Don't worry about it. Don't worry about it. That's all you ever say. It's your fault we're in this mess." So anyway, in the great tradition of the Abbott and Costello show, they had their own.
It doesn't scream comedy. The title they might have been changed like after a few revisions. And here's the thing: I wasn't going to mention this, but I have been itching for the Book and Martino reunion on this show.
Yes, I have reached out to Vito Martino. And he and Book are they're not even in touch with one another. They've lost touch with one another. Book apparently went off to work in book publishing, actually, somehow. I've told him that we will reunite them right here. If
I'm all for it.
Yeah, so we'll see if he can find Raymond T. Book II. We'll do it. We'll bring them back together. So anyway, let's go back to this. Where is it? No.
By the way, when I think of Raymond, I hear Sammy going, Raymond, Raymond. That was basically my relationship with Raymond. He wouldn't really say much when he was with us.
Now, what was the relationship between those guys? Do you know how far back they went?
I don't know how far back it went, but because when I met them, it was like Sammy was mentoring him in comedy. That was my impression. That's what was going on. That he was, and he kind of, you've seen Book and Martino, so he was kind of doing a Sammy by way of Jerry kind of act.
Yeah, interesting permutation.
Vic would do like the straight man, Duke Mitchell role, and he would sing.
Now, after Book and Martino did this Dracula routine, they went off stage, and Suzanne, off to the side, approached them and got physically aggressive with them. Did you witness any of this from the audience?
No, I heard about it later, and I didn't realize that she was so like seriously zoned into these characters that she took offense at these two guys because she thought that they stood her up by doing Dracula when she had just done, Princess Dracula.
And making a mockery of the Dracula image.
Yeah, so it was like we saw this serious, and then we got a little comedy. It was like two takes on Dracula.
Well, she at SuzanneMuldowney.com, she posted about that event, and she said,
all these years later,
the year marked that year had marked the 90th anniversary of Bram Stoker's novel. I made sure to be as serious and scary as possible. The audience responded well, but only 10 minutes later, two comedians satirized him. When they returned to the back room, I confronted them, Vlad style, ready to lunge, my stake pointed at them. You Dracula exploiters, I ought to skewer you right here and now.
Wow.
The comedians recoiled. A couple of security agents stood by.
Didn't she hit Brooke?
Yeah. I wrathfully reprimanded the comedians in their routine for having undermined all the trouble I had gone through to leave a lasting, serious, and shudderful impression. I put down my stake. I meant to scare them only. They deserved it, never to jab them. Security saw no further action or presence was needed. Now, according to Book and Martino, she did strike them. So I don't know. I think this would have to be settled in some court somewhere eventually.
Yes. Deposition.
Yeah,
there they go. There we go. Book and Martino.
Yeah, that's them doing, and that was their.
Is that something that you own?
Yes, that promotional cassette tape.
You were going to clean up on Heritage.
And this was from our program. That some shots of Book and
By
Martino.
the way,
wow, look at that!
Copy of the program, not
Talk
the one that
Talk
said
about heritage. And there's just one more. You did not actually ever do Sammy Petrillo, but you did Jerry, which I guess.
Sammy. This was for the New Yorker. Yeah. This was for the 3D movie Money from Home.
Ah, yes. Yes. Yeah.
I gave her to the art director. She was a huge Jerry Lewis fan. So I gave her the artwork, the original artwork. That's how you curry favor. And incidentally, her name was Chris Curry. So there you go.
Ah, okay.
Yes.
And now there's some questions here. Was Sammy resentful of Jerry? I know that Jerry tried to keep him out of the industry, so he certainly had a tumultuous relationship with him. Any idea on that one?
They didn't have any relationship. I know that Jerry actually still badmouthed Sammy up to the end of his life.
Wow.
Which is strange. This movie was from 1952. The Duke and Petrillo and Mitchell and Petrillo act. No, I don't. I mean, like I said, he didn't think he was funny. He didn't think Jerry Lewis was funny. I guess if somebody sues you for $6 million, you're not going to think they're that funny. And that's what happened, right?
And there is that clip of them together on the Colgate Comedy Hour, right? Where they had
or Bela Lugosi. That was he played Jerry Lewis. Have you seen? I mean, you've seen it. It's like it's Martin and Lewis, and there's a bassinet, and at the end of the sketch, Sammy pops out of the bassinet, and Dean's like, "There's two of them." Yeah, but he also did the Milton Berle show as Jerry Lewis. In fact, I think he got on the Colgate Comedy because they saw him on Milton Berle doing Jerry Lewis.
Okay. Yep.
But I wasn't around then.
Scott Allen says, I actually got Jerry's autograph after the Yankees performance in Chicago. He was cordial, but it turns out they were filming a documentary, so I'm sure it was all a put on.
Oh, I have a funny Jerry Lewis story like that. Do you want to hear the Jerry Lewis story?
Of course.
So on my honeymoon, and that was with my wife, incidentally, Aviva, we were walking downstairs and there was this sign that said in French. And I said, what does that say? Because I didn't read French and she did. She goes, press conference, Jerry Lewis. So we snuck into the press conference because I told him I worked for Esquire, which I did. I thought I was a writer. And Jerry Lewis at the end, like when he met me, at the end there was like people walk. He signed a book for me, and he went, "You're with Esquire?" "Yeah, I'm with Esquire." And he was really not. And then when we got in the elevators, his elevator came down first, and the doors opened, and then my elevator opened, and he went. But that's not the funny story. The funny story, it was really hot. And they brought in these kids with muscular dystrophy. And there was a kid on a gurney. And he had one of those Jerry Lewis caricature stickers. Okay. And he's trying to stick it on the bar on the side of the gurney, but it was really hot. And the thing kept curling up. And he was doing it for a camera. Like a guy was taking, somebody was taking pictures, like a press person. So he's doing it. And then when the person put the camera down, he just like, and he walked away. Oh, there was another thing. Oh, I don't want to use foul language, but my wife and I, we decided to stand back because he was actually mobbed. This was in Cannes. He was actually mobbed. It was actually like, like he says, they love him in France, and they're all at the other end. And we're standing back taking pictures of him being mobbed. And all of a sudden he runs up to where we are with his wife, and he's going like, he drops the F word a lot, but I won't say it. And he's like, and this is in Cannes, by the water. Yeah. And he was like, they want me to pose in front of water. What do they want me to do? Climb a tree like an effing monkey? And he's like going on and on. My wife was like snapping pictures of Jerry, like, with his angry face. And it's like, Jerry, there's water. Why? But then he just ran off into his hotel. But that was one of my experiences with Jerry Lewis.
It's hard being a Jerry fan, right? I mean,
I guess. I don't know. I mean, yeah, I like Jerry Lewis. I mean, he cracks me up.
Yeah.
I mean, it's fun. I mean, both sides of him are fun. The awful side is fun and the fun side is fun, right? I mean, I remember this I didn't experience firsthand, but I remember he was on like one of those night lines or something. And it was when the Jerry's kids were like going like, we don't want to be Jerry's kids. We think it's demeaning. Yep. And he called them cripples. And then the guy goes, he called us cripples? And they cut to Jerry Lewis. And he said, listen, if I raced one of them down a hall, who do you think is going to win? It's like, Jerry.
Wow. That's an interesting way to resolve that.
Yeah, I'm sure. And then it wasn't long before he was fired. I don't know if it was because of things like that.
So the story I heard.
Jerry or Sammy?
This is about Jerry and why he was removed from the MDA telethon, because it was very hard to get to the bottom of this, right? Nobody was really reporting on it accurately. Jerry was very quiet about it initially. Yeah. I ran into a crew guy out here in LA who had volunteered for years with the telethon. And he told me that there was now I don't remember ever seeing this, and I used to record the entire thing and watch the entire thing, and but he said at one point Jerry had a little girl on who had a she had set up a lemonade stand for raising money for MDA, and this was on the telethon.
Right.
And Jerry made some kind of crack to the effect of just jokingly, was that the only thing you were selling at that stand, little girl?
And he said inappropriate things.
This guy swears to me that was the final straw.
They probably were looking to get rid of him anyway.
Yeah, I mean, this was, leading up to this, Jerry had been making these, misogynistic comments about
women are made to make babies, not to make funny.
Yeah,
Jerry.
One
when we saw him in Cannes, someone asked him about someone asked him about The Day the Clown Cried, and he said, and Jerry at that time, he was overweight. He had a kind of a belly. He wasn't that real heavy that he got from the drugs later, but he was heavier, and he was older. And he said, like, I just have to shoot some continuity, and we're going to finish this film. The world needs to see this film. So then, in the meantime, the Spy article comes out where they completely trash the movie, make fun of it. And then I saw him again in France. I did a music video in France. And as a gift, because I was doing my Jerry Lewis impression and cracking up these French people in the van, they got me tickets to go see The Nutty Professor, and Jerry Lewis came out at the end.
Oh.
And somebody asked him about The Day the Clown Cried, and he went, "It's dead." So that happened between, the Spy article kind of dampened. Do you know about Gas is Best? You must know about that, right?
No, what's that?
Sammy Petrillo, Day the Clown Cried. It's this unfinished film that Sammy said was in boxes in California, and that it was a Zap Comics R. Crumb kind of thing, he told me. And what it was Sammy played this guy who drinks celery tonic and flies on his flatulence to fight anti-Semitism.
Wow.
It's probably lost now, but he said it was unfinished, and it's in boxes in California. But this was, 1980, 89, 1990.
And this is Gas is Best?
Gas is Best. Yeah, it's a Sammy Petrillo film. The lost Sammy Petrillo film.
I was thinking of the Elmhurst tanks in Queens that used to say gas heats best, I think, or something.
I really got the title. I don't know.
Yeah.
Yes, yeah. So long before Howard Stern came up with his guy flying on flatulence, this was Sammy's superhero.
I used to go to these lunches at a diner out here where like Shelley Winters would show up, and a lot of character actors at a place called the Silver Spoon in West Hollywood. And one of the guys who would go there was a character actor who was the only other American in The Day the Clown Cried. And I'm completely blanking on his name right now. Sorry about that. But they were having one of these readings of The Day the Clown Cried, Patton Oswalt. And so I said to him, "Hey, you want to go? Let's go. And so we go, and we're sitting in the audience, before the show starts. And I see Patton Oswalt, and I walk over and I said, by the way, this guy over here was actually in the movie." And he was like, "What?" And it was so awesome because and it was this big crowd, big Hollywood, Hollywood hipsters and whatever. And it was like this crowning moment for this guy because he started off by saying, "Before we do anything, I want to introduce someone very special in the crowd." And this guy gets up, and it's just this this big ovation for him. And he said he was the only other American actor that had some bit part in the movie. So anyway, somehow we got talking about Jerry. I'm guessing a lot of your conversations.
About Sammy, you talk about Jerry. It happens.
Let's see if we have any other comments that we should address here. John Mariano is here. He says, "Was just thinking of Raymond. Sammy was always bellowing for Raymond."
Yeah, Raymond. Raymond invited me to go to to watch the ball come down. I think probably 1989, 90. I didn't go, and it was raining. He's like, "Oh, come on, let's go. We'll go. This is it." It's like, I don't want to go. I don't want to see the ball come down.
Tristan Yance is asking, why no Petrillo cameo in Massacre Mafia style?
I don't think they were. Although, it's funny. Sammy came to our place once. This was after the Puglia thing. We had these giant speakers in our house. They were like almost as tall as I am. And they were black. And Sammy was standing between them. And he was telling us a lot of these stories. And I remember he was really in a good mood. And he's telling us all these stories. And my wife goes, do you see Dookie? And Sammy goes, "Dookie's dead." And that was kind of the end of the night.
Did he share much about Duke Mitchell, his comedy partner in that movie?
I think that probably was one of those things they just matched together. They weren't really friends or anything.
Yeah.
He went off to his mafia movies, and Sammy went off to Shangri-La, right? That's one of his films.
And they weren't. So they really were just paired for that movie. They weren't doing a lot of
They
performing.
did nightclubs. They did a lot of nightclubs. But then when Jerry Lewis, well, what happened was Martin and Lewis broke up, and that was sort of the end of the act of Mitchell and Petrillo. Even though they had that lawsuit, but I don't think the lawsuit was serious. You know the story about that, right? That they made that movie because the producer had hoped to sell the movie to were they with Universal, Martin and Lewis? He was hoping to sell it to them for like some millions, have a payday, and then burn it. But they wouldn't do it, and that's how it got released. That's the story. I don't know if it's true or not.
Oh, that's interesting. Wow. Created just to be destroyed.
Yeah.
Uh,
the story that Jerry Jerry wanted to sue them for $6 million. and Dean was like, let the kids have their fun. Because he knew like Mitchell and Petrillo were not going to overtake Martin and Lewis, So, Dean's like, the kids are having fun.
Well, this has been just great, Stephen. It's really really interesting to hear your stories about Sammy, and we did these shows with him, but didn't really spend the hours that you spent really talking with him. And
he didn't follow you home like he did me.
Mark is asking, when will we see a biography on Sammy? There has been one in the works, right?
It's been in the work for years. I actually talked to I can't remember now who's doing it.
Yeah,
I'm old. I can't remember his name, but yeah, Drew Friedman did the cover. The cover's beautiful.
Yeah, so
Sammy.
Hopefully we'll see that.
Yeah, it'll be an interesting story.
Well, again, thanks so much, Stephen, for sharing this time, and thank you everyone that joined us. And Mark Palang says Stephen needs to come on more. Yeah, I think you're right. So when you're not busy,
I'm always here.
When you're not busy doing your collages, we'll squeeze in some more time with you.
Absolutely.
So thanks everybody. If you like what you see, please hit like, hit subscribe if you haven't already. And we are going to be, I think we're about 4 new subscribers away from revealing a long lost episode of Beyond Vaudeville, an early episode.
That subscribe button and the like button.
That's right. Thanks, Stephen, so much. Thanks everybody for watching. Bye.